President Trump arrived in Beijing ahead of a highly anticipated summit with President Xi Jinping of China, welcomed by 300 young people out there on the tarmac waving Chinese and American flags. So that face-to-face comes tomorrow morning, local time. It's a crucial moment for the U.S. as the war with Iran drags on and economic uncertainty squeezes American wallets. Here's what Mr. Trump said when asked about the goals for the trip.
What are the goals of your trip to China?
I think more than anything else is we have massive relationships with China. We're the two superpowers. We're the strongest nation on earth in terms of military. China's considered second. Who knows? I mean, who knows? But we are. There's nobody even to come close. And you see that whether it's Venezuela or whether it's Iran. Iran's military is decimated. I have a great relationship with President Xi, and I think it's going to remain that way. We have a lot of things to discuss. I wouldn't say Iran is one of them, to be honest with you, because we have Iran very much under control. We're either going to make a deal or they're going to be decimated. So one way or the other, we win.
What about
we're going to be talking with President Xi about a lot of different things. I would say more than anything else will be trade.
CBS News foreign correspondent Anna Coren is in Beijing as the leaders of two superpowers go head-to-head on trade, tariffs, tech, and the big question, will they indeed talk about the war with Iran?
Well, President Trump arrived in Beijing to a red carpet welcome ahead of a two-day summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping. He was greeted by Vice President Han Zheng, who attended Trump's inauguration. It was a higher-level delegation receiving him at the airport compared to his last trip here back in 2017. Well, on board Air Force One was NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang and SpaceX boss Elon Musk. They make up a delegation of 17 US CEOs who are here for business. And Trump set the scene while in the air, posting that he will ask Xi to, quote, open up China to corporate America, often faces regulatory hurdles. Well, securing trade and economic deals are paramount for Trump. He needs to take home wins for the American people, which will mean selling Boeing jets, beef, soybeans, and natural gas. He also wants a guaranteed supply of rare earths and critical minerals, which are essential for AI and defense. After last year's tariff war, where China, which has a monopoly of rare earths, caught the US and world off guard when it threatened to cut global supply. Trump doesn't want to be in that vulnerable situation again. Now, for President Xi, he wants the trade truce to be extended, a reduction in tariffs, export controls on advanced semiconductors, and sanctions against Chinese entities lifted. He also wants Taiwan, which China claims as its own territory. He said unification is unstoppable and needs the US to stop selling arms, change its position, and reduce support for the island democracy. Well, despite Taiwan's silicon shield, it does produce 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. There are fears that Trump could do some sort of grand bargain with China and sell it out. The two leaders will meet in the Great Hall of the People Thursday morning for meetings. In the afternoon, Xi will take Trump to the Temple of Heaven, a UNESCO site, before a state dinner. Iran will loom large over this summit as it continues to cause global instability. And while Trump has said he doesn't need China's help to use its leverage over Iran, the conflict will be high on their agenda. Well, this summit is an opportunity to reset the most consequential bilateral relationship of our time, which has been under enormous strain and mistrust for years. Back to you.
Let's keep the conversation going. Live to CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, good to have you with us. So let's talk about the business of this business, so to speak. We know President Trump has a lot of major business leaders on board Air Force One with him and also who will be arriving there. We saw Elon Musk saying that he is on board Air Force One, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA. This is going to be a push, it looks like, by the Trump administration to do business with China, no?
Yes, it's a show of American economic might, Reed, but it is also a reflection of what President Trump says is his #1 priority, in China, which is to make deals. He wants China to allow U.S. companies more of a foothold. He wants them to buy more Boeing planes. He wants them to buy more soybeans. He wants the Chinese to buy more of everything because trade deficits, as we know, are something that are very important to him. And so that's something they're going to be talking about. You have a number of CEOs of major banks from the U.S., like Citibank, like Goldman. As you pointed out, Elon Musk was on the plane with President Trump. He posted a picture from the plane. In fact, Forbes magazine actually did the math. They added up the net worth of all the U.S. CEOs who are traveling to China. And guess what, Reed? The combined net worth of all these individuals was over $1 trillion.
Well, that outdoes my bank account by about $1 trillion for sure. How do they have the conversation about U.S.-China business relations when China was arguably one of the first targets of President Trump in the tariffs very early on in this next Trump administration?
It's definitely a tense conversation, and there is still tension over tariffs, over sanctions. Just recently, the Chinese government signaled to Chinese companies that were targets of U.S. Sanctions that they shouldn't comply. And so even though President Trump has backed off of some of these astronomically high tariffs that he imposed last year, the tension still remains and is ongoing and has caused companies on both sides of the Pacific to adjust where they get some of their goods. That's why, for example, China still isn't purchasing soybeans from the United States, which is to the major detriment of U.S. soybean farmers. So all of that is going to be discussed. But what President Trump really likes to tout at summits like this is big billion-dollar investments, multi-billion-dollar investments in front of the cameras, less nitty-gritty behind closed doors, and more big announcements that China will be buying X and the U.S. will be buying Y, and China is going to be making such and such investment in the U.S. And a lot of those deals tend to be hammered out before the president even arrives in China. That's the kind of thing that we're likely to see tomorrow and Friday.
All right, Nancy Cordes, I have a feeling you'll be working double shifts. We appreciate all of these updates. Thank you so much from Washington, D.C.